More than ever in Nigeria's politics, there is massive political participation from the youth. With just a few weeks to go before the presidential election, and with many stories coming out of Africa's biggest and most populous country, many Nigerians are looking towards their future to own the moment. They have registered to vote, have been vocal on social media and off it, and are looking to finally wake up to the fight for the country's future. But questions persist about how ready Nigerian youth are. The leading powers vying for Nigeria's most prominent political seat have based their greatest strength on youth and what they have to offer. Nigeria's political history is facing a point in time when difficult questions are expected to be asked by the youth and what becomes of their future. Who has the best shot and what can they expect? Well, Nigeria's PVC, that's the voter card, problems are also hot on the burner, with more registered voters revealing their access to voting is nowhere to be found. It's Politics HQ. Welcome. My guest tonight, first, Adetunji Omotola, Global African Thought Leader, joins me live. Good to see you and thanks for your time. We were meant to have a studio conversation. First, let me welcome you back home from South Africa. The last time we had this conversation, you were still in South Africa. So, what brings you home?
Yeah, a number of things. Thank you very much for having me on your show, Sulaiman. It's a hot Tuesday evening, and I'm happy to be home. I have a number of things that has brought me home. I've come to see my mother. My mother is 82 in a few weeks' time. And also I've come to polish off my legal qualifications. I'm a lawyer, but I have never practiced law for a day. So I'm trying to see if I can get in the mix, because there's going to be a lot of legal challenges after these elections. And also I have a speech to give at the University of Lagos on diaspora and the role they can play in development of Africa, particularly the Nigerian diaspora, that is about 20 million, somewhere there now.
So you have a full plate. But again, let's talk about the election. And, you know, a lot of people have started talking about the access that they will be getting on the day. And the only thing that gives you that access is your voter card. And I understand you're also a voting Nigerian, and you have registered. Let us in on your personal experience in getting your personal voter card.
Okay, so let me give you the background to my own personal PVC, the permanent voters card experience. In February last year, almost a year to this day, I arrived in Lagos and I said I was going to do a number of things: PVC, BVN, and the national identity number, NIN. And I managed to get all those except for the PVC. And they said to me at the Oshodi Solo local government that I should return in August. This was in February last year. And they said I should return in August for the PVC to be collected. Of course, there's been a lot of reasons why one could not fly back just for the PVC. But in any case, I then came back on the 1st of February, and I proceeded on the deadline, the last day, which is Sunday, the 5th of February, to Oshodi Solo, in the company of a friend of mine who actually had gone through the entire process, not only to get a PVC, but also to contest for elections for the House of Assembly in Koshofe constituency in Lagos State. And once we arrived there, in fact, I called another lady who had queued up with me last year when we went through the baptism. I think we spent about 3 hours on that queue last year. And she was actually skeptical about coming, but I insisted that we should go through the experience again together. And she got there ahead of me. I think she got there at 8:30. I arrived there at about 9 o'clock with my friend. And once we got there, I only had a piece of paper given to me. Well, she also had the same thing, but it was just a piece of paper with all the details, the polling unit, your name and all of that, your middle name and surname. But mine had already been, it had become blurred. So I wrote it on a piece of paper. So when I got there, she wasn't having it. She said, look, this is not good enough. We have to print it out. And I was hesitant about printing it out. But anyway, so I went with the flow and we gave the paper, and many of us were there, probably about 250 people when I arrived, and we gave it to a gentleman. So they quarantined it into different areas, Ejigbo, Okota, Isolo. So I'm based in Isolo. So anyway, so they then took the papers in. So within a few minutes, or maybe 20 minutes, they came out, a gentleman came out with a loudspeaker and started calling out names. And then a few minutes after, another gentleman came out. I started calling out names not found. And I was a little bit worried because I'm thinking, why are they calling out names of not found on the last day? Anyway, I thought maybe it's just some kind of technicality and maybe it wouldn't affect me. And 3 hours later, the lady who came with me, myself, and a brother-in-law, they told us our PVCs had not been found. So what next? Oh, well, we're going to send you an SMS, a text message on the number that you used to apply. In my case, the SIM card I used, I can't even find it anymore because it's over a year. It's a Nigerian number. So I actually came in with my South African number. So I knew automatically that if that was the only recourse SMS, then there's no ways that they would be able to reach me. And that was how I wrote about it, about my experience, because after leaving that place, I felt totally distraught that I flew almost 6,000 miles just to be told that I am not found on the INEC system, in spite of being on the printout, which all of us did before we could even lodge our collection request on the day.
Let me jump in here, Adetunji. When you say you've been told that your data is not in INEC's compiled list of voters, did you get that story from INEC official or just some?
Yes. Yes, basically what happened, Sulaiman, was that as there's a gentleman, somebody comes out and says, here are some cards, then they call out the names. Another person comes and they are INEC officials, but there are two different batches. One was for those with cards to be collected. The other one was not found. And the not found was growing in number, almost in the same exact number as those that have been found and ready for collection. And that was where I smelled a rat, because when you go to the INEC portal, we printed out our names. You know, you put your name, your name and your date of birth, and then you put some other information that I can't remember. So we actually on the portal, and so how come we're on the portal, but I can't find our cards? So I found that fishy, and you know, my mind started to work in a funny way, and I'm thinking, because even today, earlier, I was speaking to some gentlemen who are corporate guys. One is, they're in advertising, and they said they gave up on the process because they were actually asking them to pay to get it. And they thought, they're not going to pay. This was only about an hour ago. And I just bumped into them. So it seems to me that there are people in INEC who want to be paid.
So people have been, let's get, sorry, I have to take it back again. So some people have been asked to pay to get their PVC.
Absolutely. That's what I was told this evening, because I was asking the gentleman, I said to them, we need to, as a people, have conviction. As Nigerians, we must have conviction. If we don't have conviction, we won't get anything done. It doesn't matter how much, we make noise, we must have conviction. And they said, look, we are not voting. These are two young men. I'm sure they're at least a decade younger than me. And they said they're not interested because they were asking them to pay to collect their PVC. And in fact, they said the ordeal they went through to try and register, it was actually a nightmare. And I can tell you categorically that when I went to queue to register for my PVC, people were jumping the queue ahead of me for hours on end. And I suspect there may have been some inducement for them to be able to get ahead of me because the queue never moved. And I was peeved about it. So it's been a nightmare for me because 1 year later, I'm here, I'm a statistic, not found. And this is the most pivotal elections in the last 2 decades in my view.
And that's the painful aspect. You've always spoken about this election in all places across the continent, and here you are at this moment. You can't find your PVC. What else have you been able to do? Or have you been able to reach out? Is there a communication line where you can reach INEC to ensure? Because I mean, a year ago you registered, so you must have a PVC that is lying somewhere without your knowledge.
Yes, look, I've done what a good citizen would do. I've spoken to my friend, who is not only a lawyer, but he's also a politician. And he said he will reach out. In fact, there's still 2 weeks or almost 3 weeks to the process. I think I'm going to make this a case that will not go away. I'm using my lawyers to reach out to INEC. I don't have the luxury of time to be pursuing INEC because I also know that they have to prepare for the elections. So I'm not naive to expect them to give me any kind of special treatment. But because also the not founds in my particular local government on that day were voluminous, I think INEC should look at it. How can you have, on the last day of collection, so many not found? In fact, in my cohort, the 3 applications or requests rather were not found. I mean, 3 people go in together on one day and all 3 are disastrous results, not found. How can I not be found when I'm on the portal? It doesn't make any sense. It's ludicrous.
So what's the next step? You've reached a lawyer friend, but again, what's the next step? You're not alone. Some others have also gone through this. When you hear INEC say, we're ready for this election, and it's 17 days to the start of the election.
Yeah, well, look, I think the best thing to do, they say where there's a wrong, there's a right, and where there's a right, there's a remedy. So we need to take a class action. And if people are not ready to join me, I'm ready to challenge INEC because I did everything right. I mean, I flew into the country, I met the deadline, I got there on time. The queue wasn't even that long. We're only about 200 people. And how come that they come up with this verdict of not found? It doesn't make any sense. And if they're saying SMS to which number? I don't have the Nigerian SIM card that I had a year ago because it's of no use to me when I'm in South Africa. Why must I romance a SIM card that is a Nigerian SIM card? So I can't find it. They've got to be more vigilant about these cards. And because we've seen so many cards being dumped around and people making allegations about people buying other people's PVCs, I'm actually worried that not only as a diaspora we can't vote outside, that when we fly into the country, we arrive before the deadline, the end of the exercise, and they still treat us with disdain. So it's a double whammy.
Well, not to get a story, but are there other Nigerians like yourself living abroad who are back home and going through the same ordeal as yourself?
Well, I haven't done any inquiries, but I can tell you for free, without having to even stretch, that I cannot be the only Nigerian who is based outside Nigeria who has come to participate in these crucial elections. There are many Nigerians who have sworn that they will be voting in this election, but I have not reached out to any of those who have said they would do so. But now that you've asked me this question, I am going to go in search of them because I can tell you for free that some of them would have probably faced the same predicament. As if the locals are facing the same predicament, what would exclude the non-locals from that?
So speak to us about, other preparations INEC has spoken about. INEC also spoke about logistics. While we hope that INEC can resolve this before the election, talking about the PVC, let's talk about logistics. And INEC is also partnering with the transport unions to ensure that, and the Maritime Transport Union to ensure that these two bodies help in ensuring that they get to the nook and crannies of our cities and our villages for the election.
Okay, let me first say a personal experience about logistics. That's always important. My family home is in Isolo, and so I'm staying in a part of Lagos called Ikeja. And Ikeja to Isolo on a good day shouldn't take you more than 10, 15 minutes. But when I visited my mom this past few days, it took me about an hour because there's a particular road called Aswani just off the service lane there. And it's almost like a crater. For you to just drive 100 meters, you spend about 10 minutes going from left to right, and almost like you're climbing a mountain, you know. And so if that is the nature of the terrain that INEC wants to traverse over 1 million square kilometers, and in a day or in a week or two, all I can say is I wish them all the best. I pray for their success, but it's going to be a major challenge for them because the roads are not really that great, and they have to go into remote areas to be able to ensure that people are able to vote. They talk about 176,000 polling units. That's a lot of polling units. So I really wish them all the best. But from that example I gave you, I think they're going to meet a lot of challenges up and down the country. And then we also have the security challenge as well. So I'm praying for them. I wish them all the best.
Yeah, I was going to ask about security challenge, which is quite big, specifically looking at some other regions, the southeast and somewhere around the northeast. But quickly here, before we let you go, you said you smelt a rat now. We're coming back to where we started off, looking at the predicament of many young Nigerians and even elderly Nigerians unable to get their permanent voter cards. And with the beavers, which many have said, whether you like it or not, the days of rigging are over. With the conversation we're having now that some people are being asked to pay for their voter cards, while some are unable to find their voter cards, you still think that some people can actually circumvent the system?
Well, I mean, if I can't vote, that's already one vote lost. And there are many others on that day. There's so many tricks around this whole process. There's the pre-voting tricks, and then there will be on-the-day tricks. Because, I mean, look at the situation in the country. There's no cash, there's no petrol, people can't move. So you can imagine a day on the day of the election, if you can't move, and if you don't have any money, how are you going to go and vote? I mean, are you a magician? So I think there's a lot going on that we're not really analyzing. People are thinking it's just going to be honky-dory. All of those things that are happening just a few weeks before the election, in my mind, it tells me that there's already some, abracadabra going on. I don't know who is responsible for it, but it doesn't make any sense to not have mobility by the citizenry 2 weeks before an election. There's no cash. The machines are not working. The bank terminals are not working. I see bankers jumping the fence of their building, running away from customers who are angry and looking for money. This is not the condition that you should have, or conditions you should have in place before a general election that decides not only the presidential, but also governorship, House of Representatives, the Senate, and even House of Assembly. Never in the history of Nigeria since 1923, when we started having elections, have the citizenry being subjected to so much frustration and trauma as this one. And it is a tragedy for Africa, not only for Nigeria, but for Africa.
Now, speaking of Africa, apologies button in there, Tunji. Speaking of Africa, we saw what went down in Kenya, and now INEC chairman was also in Kenya, and the last outside big visit was at the Chatham House. He spoke about preparations, and everyone seemed to be ready. Now, speak to us about the feeling of Africans towards this particular election and how much of hope they have with us.
Look, I think because Nigeria is the biggest economy in Africa, most populous black nation, I mean, we have a lot of influence in terms of Nollywood and our music. Every African is interested. I think most Africans are interested in this election. But the challenge we have is that the way the whole process is unfolding, If Nigerians are losing hope, like myself, I've lost hope in the election because I can't vote, and I came in. It's twice. It reminds me of when I tried to register a company in Ghana and I had to fly in twice to register a single company. So it's a deja vu for me 15 years later. It was Ghana with a company, now Nigeria with elections. So if a local Nigerian is dejected like me, and I know a few people who are in my position, Africans who are even remote from the process are going to feel like, what's going on here? Why would you not be able to vote, Adetunji, in a critical election that has gotten so much mileage, where the candidates have even traveled far and wide to go and sell their case to various stakeholders. So it is very important that the INEC chairman and his commissioners that they come on television and explain to Nigerians why people will register and they will tell them that their PVCs are not found. It is an indictment and is a failure on the part of INEC to be able to rescue us from this kind of, if you like, incompetence. This is gross incompetence on the part of INEC officials, and it shouldn't be allowed to stand.
Now, let's talk more about African leadership and especially diasporan guide that the continent may have. Specifically, Africa hasn't actually gotten quite a number of great leaders, apart from Kwame Nkrumah, Kofi Annan, and a few others, Nelson Mandela. What's the missing link? Because this is an election that everyone would have thought that would have been able to get it all right. But quite frankly, the complaints about PVC and issues of security still, leave a lot to be desired. Speak to us, if we can close on this, on the need for us to have a direction. If the leaders cannot create that path, can the people do? Can the people rise?
Absolutely. I'm thankful that you mentioned Kofi Annan, the 7th Secretary General of the United Nations and the first United Nations Secretary General from Sub-Saharan Africa. And if you remember what Kofi Annan told us, he said, when leaders fail to lead, their followers can elect to lead them. I think what Africans need to begin to do also to incorporate what Barack Hussein Obama told us when he was leaving office. You don't have to be an elected official to be a leader. You don't have to be the governor of a state to be a leader. You can be a school teacher. You can be a milkman. You can be on the residents association. You can be the head of your golf club. Or, you can just show leadership. Because if you're waiting for a governor or a minister or a member of the House of Reps to guide you, you might be led down, a steep hill and, or a cliff. You might be pushed off the cliff. Because what I say is that unlike most climes, we don't have a political school in Nigeria. Yes, people go to university to study political science, get a 4-year degree, but a political school where the ideology about government and philosophy and service to humanity and building the community and the economy are taught. I don't think we have that in Africa. In many African countries, it's all about myself, my tribe, my family, my friends, and that is why we have governments that are not able to deliver. In the end, they create budgets that lead to a deficit. They borrow money for all sorts of things, and they fly at the shortest, mosquito bite. You see them going to London to get an injection or recuperating there. That's not the Africa we want. So each of us can lead, and it begins with us, me. I can lead. You can lead, Sulaiman. You don't need to, give a franchise to someone else. And in most cases, some of our politicians, they don't even have a degree in law. They don't have a degree in politics. And they want to lead a country. How can you be a leader and you don't even have the basics? You don't understand the Constitution. You don't understand the tenets, the history of this great nation. You don't understand the economy. You don't understand the commanding heights of the economy, the drivers of the economy, and you want to lead. And I say something, I want to close with this. I said African politicians are not savvy about business, and African business people are not savvy about politics. And that is why I talk about the concept of political economy. Most African politicians do not marry the two, and that's why we're looked upon as a basket case.
Adetunji Omotola, Global African Thought Leader, many thanks for speaking with us.
You're very welcome.